Hi guys, my name is Emma and other real story. Like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. The mistake. My friend, let's call her Emma, had made a mistake. A common one, a very human one. She met a guy online, charming, charismatic, sweet. He wasn't in our country, but he said he traveled a lot for work and he would be nearby soon. They bonded over art, music, and long-distance frustrations. Late-night conversations led to exchanged pictures. He was handsome. She felt comfortable, safe, trusted him. His name? Well, that's the thing. She didn't know his full name. Just a screen name, some vague details about where he lived, what kind of work he did, the usual breadcrumbs you think maybe are enough until they aren't. And then one day she got a feeling. You know the kind. Red flags waving in the background of a text conversation. He became pushy, crude, possessive. So she backed out. Politely, respectfully. She didn't owe him anything, especially not access to her body. And that's when his mask slipped. He threatened to leak the intimate pictures she'd sent, to post them publicly, tag her, shame her, dox her, destroy her. Emma called me immediately. She was shaking, voice trembling, breath short. I've known her for years. She's not someone who scares easy. But this violated every boundary. It was emotional terrorism. And I am an attorney. I don't just know the law. I live it. I use it. And most importantly, I know how to weaponize it against predators like him. I told her to forward me everything. Every text, every photo, every screenshot. Then I got to work. Emma called me immediately. She was shaking, voice trembling, breath short. I've known her for years. She's not someone who scares easy. But this violated every boundary. It was emotional terrorism. And I am an attorney. I don't just know the law. I live it. I use it. And most importantly, I know how to weaponize it against predators like him. I told her to forward me everything. Every text, every photo, every screenshot. Then I got to work. The kill shot. Within 20 minutes, I had compiled everything I needed. His full name, his current job and office address, screenshots of his threats, pictures tying him to the company brand, the conversation where he admitted to having sex with someone at work, in his office, his company laptop in frame, open Outlook calendar clearly visible, proprietary information he'd sent Emma to prove he was busy, even a photo of his motorcycle with the license plate showing. And then I found the big guns. Emails of the CEO, the VP of HR, the operations manager, and the public relations director. I crafted a very carefully worded email. Polite, cold, legally tight. To whom it may concern, I am contacting you on behalf of my client regarding one of your employees. I laid out everything, not just the revenge porn threats, but how this employee was clearly violating company policy, privacy laws, data protection regulations, and creating a hostile, dangerous environment both inside and outside of work. Screenshots, timestamps, photos. Proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. And then came the final nail. Since my client is a U.S. citizen currently residing on U.S. soil, and your employee has threatened to distribute illicit material across international borders, this constitutes a federal crime. I will be forwarding this dossier to the local office of the FBI. And I meant it. One of my closest friends from law school is an assistant U.S. attorney in our district. If this man so much as booked a flight to the U.S., I could have agents waiting for him at customs. I hit send. Less than an hour later, HR replied. The email was being escalated. An emergency meeting was already scheduled. They thanked me for providing the information and confirmed that the matter was being taken very seriously. I didn't stop there. Using the license plate and other digital footprints, I tracked down his local law enforcement contact page. I gathered every piece of documentation and forwarded it to them with a cover letter explaining the crime, jurisdictional relevance, and legal codes violated. By morning, his digital life was imploding. His Instagram vanished. TikTok, gone. LinkedIn, scrubbed. A digital disappearance of someone who realized too late that the internet isn't a shield. It's a mirror. The lesson. To this day, Emma never heard from him again. She never had to, because in the span of 45 minutes, the predator, who tried to use anonymity as a weapon, got exposed, dismantled, and tossed into the legal meat grinder. And no, this wasn't about revenge. This was about justice. Because when someone uses fear and shame to control someone, that's not seduction. That's a crime. And this time, the victim didn't have to fight alone. She had me. What happens to guys like him? Let's take a step back and really look at what happens to predators like this when someone actually follows through. He thought he was clever, that he could exploit someone emotionally, then humiliate her if she didn't give him what he wanted. But these guys always make the same mistake. They forget that they're not anonymous. They forget that someone might actually trace them back. And they never expect their victim's friend to be someone who knows how to take them apart piece by piece. The real-world consequences. Let me walk you through what he lost.
His job.
I never got official confirmation of his termination, but I do know his company scrubbed his name and credentials from every page. Even his team photo disappeared. No goodbye post. No explanation. Just erased. His visa eligibility. If he was being considered for travel or international relocation, that's done. You can't have pending legal investigations involving cybercrimes and expect Homeland Security or U.S. Customs to give you a warm welcome. His digital footprint. Everything vanished in a matter of hours. Not because he wanted privacy, but because he was now trying to hide. But guess what? Nothing ever really disappears from the internet. His reputation. The HR department now has records of sexual misconduct, explicit threats, inappropriate use of work property. Even if they don't prosecute him, that follows his name forever. And I'm not done yet. Law enforcement steps in. Later that week, I got a call from a very polite officer in his jurisdiction. They had received my complaint, opened a file, and were contacting him for questioning. Given the screenshot evidence, they were particularly interested in the workplace violations and transmission of intimate images across borders. I asked if they'd received cooperation from his employer. The officer chuckled and said, "Oh, they want nothing to do with him. In fact, they gave us more internal emails after your report." That's when I knew the company had thrown him under the bus. And rightly so. Emma's recovery. And what about Emma? She cried when I told her everything was moving forward. Not from sadness, from relief. Someone had stood up for her, believed her, protected her. And not just emotionally, but legally and publicly. She's since taken back control of her online presence, started seeing a therapist, even got involved in an online community where women share their stories and warn others about dangerous behavior. She turned her pain into purpose. That guy thought he was going to break her, but instead, he gave her the fire to rise up stronger. Why I told this story. So, why am I telling this story? Because too many people suffer in silence. Too many victims think they won't be believed. Or it's not worth the fight. Or no one will help. Let me make this crystal clear. Revenge porn is a crime. Blackmail is a crime. Threats are crimes. Manipulating someone into sending intimate content only to use it against them is not just toxic behavior. It's psychological abuse. And if you're watching this and it's happened to you or someone you love, don't delete the evidence. Document it. Save everything. Get help. Final message to predators. To the cowards hiding behind fake usernames, threatening women online, thinking they're safe. You are not. There is always someone smarter, faster, more connected. And sometimes, that someone is a pissed-off attorney who doesn't play games. You thought you could scare my friend into silence? You should have been scared of me. And to every other victim watching this, if they threaten to leak your photos, tell someone. Speak up. You don't have to fight alone. Why it was so easy? You might be wondering, how did I find him so fast? Honestly, because people like him are careless. Predators like this think they're smarter than everyone else. They believe a screen name and a few filters can cover their tracks. But ego is a paper trail all by itself. He sent selfies, pictures of his office, a branded shirt with his company logo, a shot of his calendar on a company-issued laptop, a motorcycle pic, license plate, and all. Each of these was a mistake. And when you put those puzzle pieces together, it's not even a puzzle anymore. It's just obvious. He made himself easy to destroy. All it took was the right person to look. How close this was to ruining her. Let's talk about Emma again. She's strong, smart, funny. The kind of person who'd stay up until 3 a.m. listening to you vent about your problems while completely ignoring hers. But what happened? It broke something in her. She told me, "I feel disgusting. Like, I gave him permission to humiliate me." I stopped her right there. No. She gave him trust. He took it and tried to turn it into a weapon. And that's what makes these crimes so insidious. They don't just threaten your privacy. They threaten your identity, your dignity, your sense of control. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every ping from her phone gave her anxiety. She kept checking if her name had been posted anywhere, if her pictures had been leaked. That's not paranoia. That's trauma. And he caused it, but I ended it. Talking to my law school friend. Later that week, I spoke with the assistant U.S. attorney in my district, my friend from law school. I sent him the case file, all neatly organized. He told me, I wish more people documented things the way you do. This is airtight. If he ever sets foot in the States, we can nail him. I asked what he thought the charges would be. He listed them casually like a grocery list. Transmission of threatening communications, attempted extortion, interstate harassment, intent to distribute intimate material without consent, workplace misconduct and data violations, thanks to the Outlook calendar shot, distribution of proprietary corporate information, and potentially criminal sexual misconduct, depending on what his employer found internally. That's not just losing your job. That's losing your freedom. What his employer might have found. Let's talk about the company for a second. When HR and legal saw my email, I can only imagine their panic. Why? Because this wasn't just a creepy employee being a creep. This was a liability. He had sent internal emails, screenshots of sensitive meetings, comments about coworkers without their consent, plans to engage in sexual activity inside the office. If they ignored it, they'd be complicit. So I'm confident they launched a full internal review, probably pulled his email logs, checked internal servers, interviewed his team members, and if even one other woman came forward with a similar story, that's a lawsuit. That's media coverage. That's corporate nightmare fuel. Digital footprints last forever. Let's get something straight. Nothing online is ever truly gone. Even when you delete your TikTok, Instagram, or LinkedIn, screenshots exist. Archive tools exist. Cached pages exist. He tried to go dark, but it was already too late. That's the beauty and the curse of the internet. It remembers. And in this case, it remembered everything he sent to my friend. Because Emma didn't delete those messages out of fear. She saved them out of instinct. That's what let me build the case. That's what let me tear him down. If he ever comes here, the kicker? He had mentioned several times that he wanted to travel to the US soon. For a conference. For work. Maybe even to meet Emma before she blocked him. If he tries now, Customs and Border Protection already has his name. A case file exists. The DOJ has access to my legal complaint. You want to know what happens if he shows up? He's detained. He's held for questioning. His devices are searched. If they find anything, even saved photos or threatening messages, he's not stepping foot outside that airport. Instead of a weekend conference, he'll be spending time answering federal investigators. All because he couldn't handle rejection. What this taught me. I've been a lawyer for over a decade. But this case, it wasn't just about law. It was about friendship, about power, about how easy it is for someone to use trust like a blade, and how important it is to protect people who are too emotionally shattered to protect themselves. It taught me that justice doesn't always have to come from a courtroom. Sometimes it comes from an inbox, a screenshot, and a friend who refuses to stay silent. Speaking directly to predators. Let me say this plainly. To every man who thinks threatening a woman with leaked pictures makes you powerful, you're not powerful. You're pathetic. You're a parasite with a data trail. And when someone like me finds it, I won't just expose you. I'll rip your reputation apart from the inside. Your employer will know. Your family might find out. Your future will be locked behind legal walls. Because here's the truth. You are not a hacker. You're not smart. You're not hidden. You're just another angry boy with a Wi-Fi connection. Speaking to the victims. To every woman who's been threatened like this, you are not alone. What happened to you isn't your fault. You didn't ask for it. You didn't lead them on. You made a human connection, and someone tried to turn it into a weapon. That's not shameful. That's not weak. That's what predators count on, to silence you. But if you're reading this, I want you to screenshot the threats. Save the messages. And find someone who can fight. Because when one woman speaks up, 10 more remember that they can. Closure. Emma's doing better now. She laughs more. Eats again. Her sleep is getting better. The sparkle in her eyes is back. She told me one night, "Thank you for destroying him." I told her, "No, you destroyed him." I just hit send. Because in the end, this wasn't just revenge. It was restoration. Clapperboard if you found this story powerful. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Repeat button share it with someone who needs to know that justice is possible. Inbox Drays, save your evidence. Tell your story. Don't stay silent.